dedicated to you.
There's a lot going on here in Sri Lanka and around the world. To stay updated with the latest, you're watching Prime Time News here on TV1. And bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Satyajit. Before we go into news in detail, first, your top stories.
News first, headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed as president to stabilize the economy and to establish democracy, not to support any other venture, says SLPP General Secretary. What is the agreement signed with India to develop Trincomalee?
සම්පූර්ණ කලාපයම ආර්ථික මධ්‍යස්ථානයක් හැටියට සංවර්ධනය කිරීම තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඒ තුලින්.
A new circular by Health Ministry Secretary on providing information to the media.
ඖෂධයේ වළක්වා ගැනීමට පූර්ව පිළියම් ගැන කතා කරන එක වැරදි කියන එක තමයි අමාත්‍යාංශ කියන්නේ.
Farmers of Walava in crisis as water is used for electricity generation.
මේ වැවේ ජලාශය වතුර. ඔබතුමාලට හැදියාව තියෙන්න ඕන ගිහිල්ලා ඒ වතුර ටික කොහොම හරි ගානන් එන්න.
Trinity College wins Bradby Shield first leg.
News first, headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana, Attorney Sagara Karyavasam, says that Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed as president after the Aragalaya with the help of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana to stabilize the economy of the country and to establish democracy. He further revealed that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana did not agree to support other ventures.
Attorney Sagara Karyavasam expressed his views at the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Damadeni Electorate Committee meeting. State Minister Dilum Amunagama along with Parliamentarian Minister Johnston Fernando also took part in the meeting.
Our party was built around the greatest leader that emerged after the independence of this country. For all the development activities he carried out, he was sent home because a false allegation was created in society saying that he was a thief. Taking that step back did not mean he will abandon this country. In that moment, the power was handed over to the most suitable person to receive power. We had two requests for him. We will stand with President Ranil Wickremesinghe regarding decisions he takes based on these two requests, reviving our economy and protecting the democracy of our nation. If he refers to other matters, apart from those two matters, we will have to think about it as a party. 6.9 million people elected us not to divide the country but to unite it, to protect this country. I will state the fact that we will not support any other ventures that diverts from that.
In වෙනස් වෙන කිසිම ගමකකට සහයෝගය දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන කාරණය මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා. අද අපි කුණාටුවෙන් එළියට ඇවිල්ලා ඉවරයි.
We have come out of the storm. We needed a captain to come out of this. A captain who could sail the ship excellently during a storm. That captain has sailed us out of the storm, and the port tour will further decide if the captain is good or not. I feel that the captain is good as of now and is doing his job well. If you think he is doing well, you can go along with him, and if another decision is taken, you can do likewise. That decision lies with the port tour and not with us.
එහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒක තියෙනවා තියෙන්නේ පොට්ටුවේ පක්ෂාතේ තියෙනවා අපි ගන්නෙ නැහැ.
Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs President's Council Ali Sabri says that cabinet approval has been given to the agreement to further develop Trincomalee as a national and regional hub of industry, energy and economic activity on the basis of mutual understanding. He made these remarks at a press briefing on the agreements reached during the President's official visit to India held at the President's Media Division.
ත්‍රිකුණාමලය ජාතික සහ කලාපීය කාර්මික සහ ආර්ථික ක්‍රියාකාරකම් මධ්‍යස්ථානයක් ලෙස අන්‍යෝන්‍ය අවබෝධයේ මත පදනම්ව සංවර්ධනය කිරීමට අපි ඉන්දියාව සහ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව අතර ඊයේ ගිවිසුම අත්සන් කළා. ඇත්තට මේකෙන් මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ කියන එක දැනගන්න කැමති ඔබතුමාගෙන්.
ත්‍රිකුණාමල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ දැන් නෙමෙයි 2015 වර්ෂයේදී
Back in 2015 and 2016, an economic plan was created together with a Singaporean company, Sobana for Trincomalee. According to that, the government has decided on the economic developments that need to be carried out covering the entire district or a part of the district. The decision on whether to develop the port, whether to develop tank farms of Trincomalee as a regional incoming energy hub, or to build an industrial park in another place, or to develop tourism in one area has to be decided accordingly. Once we come up with a plan, we will be holding discussions with India simultaneously. In occasions on which they show a special interest, discussions will be held among the states or among private sector stakeholders or partners regarding the implementation of such plans. Since they already have a tank farm related to the region, we hope that if we also agree to connecting those posts in Trincomalee with the South Indian coast, we will develop them and develop the entire region as an economic center. We are hoping to develop the entire eastern province through that.
සම්පූර්ණ කලාපයම ආර්ථික මධ්‍යස්ථානයක් හැටියට සංවර්ධනය කිරීම තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. ඒ තුලින් සම්පූර්ණ නැගෙනහිර කලාපය දියුණු කිරීමට.
ගිවිසුම කැබිනට් එකේ ඉදිරිපත් කරේ කවද්ද සහ අනුමැතිය ලැබුණේ කවද්ද කියලා දැනගන්න කැමතියි.
මට දිනේ දන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් මම
I am not aware of the exact date, but I know that it was handed over to the Attorney General, and after that it was presented to the Cabinet and later was approved by the Cabinet.
අනුමත කරලා තමයි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
කැබිනට් එක අනුමත වුණා.
මේ හරහා ලංකාවේ ආර්ථික තාක්ෂණික ස්වාධීනත්වයට යම්කිසි මරුපහරක් එල්ල වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද?
ඇස් අරගෙන දෙපාර්ශ්වයෙන්
We are doing justice to both the parties. We will not do anything against our country. I think we should be sensitive in this and should do this after discussing with all the parties, and we have to make sure the actions we take are mutually beneficial to all connected parties.
වෙන ආකාරයට තමයි මේක කරන්නට ඕන.
ජනාධිපතිවරයා මේ යෝජනා කළ ගොඩබිම් සම්බන්ධතාවයක් ඒ පිළිබඳ එතකොට දැන් ලංකාවට ඒ හරහා ලංකාවේ ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට යම්කිසි අවදානමක් එයිද අවදානමක් අප විසින්ම ඇති කර ගන්නවා වගේ එහෙම දෙයක් එතන වෙයිද?
ලෝකයේ එක රටක
One country of the world having a common territory doesn't mean that its national security will be threatened. Many countries in the world have created such bridges. This is normal. The parliament will take a final decision on this.
අනවශ්‍යයෙන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසින් එක තියෙනවා.
මේකට චීනයේ බලපෑම කොහොමද ඔබතුමා මැනේජ් කරගන්නේ?
අපි අස්සන් කරේ අවබෝධත.
We signed a memorandum of understanding. I don't have an idea on the stances of other countries on it, but I don't think any country has the ability to oppose projects that are carried out with transparency. We don't expect anyone to oppose as well.
එන ආකාරයට කරන ව්‍යාපෘති වලට විරුද්ධ වීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා කියලා විරුද්ධ වෙනවා කියලා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
One of the key concerns India has been raising for a long time is Chinese influence and the security issues. And you said both Sri Lanka and India will be focusing on mutual security issues in the future. Was that Chinese issue focused?
The Chinese issue was not specifically mentioned, but basically what both sides agreed that the Indian Ocean should remain a peaceful region, and both Sri Lanka and India should be sensitive to each other's legitimate security concerns.
Minister of Foreign Affairs also spoke about the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
Accordingly, he told that he is keen in implementing the 13th Amendment, and as far as the police powers are concerned, he will consult all the parties in the government and the opposition and in the parliament and decide the way forward. Apart from that, most of the other areas he was of the opinion that can be implemented, and he will do that.
As per the India-Sri Lanka Economic Partnership vision, both countries agreed to further develop Trincomalee as a national and regional hub of industry, energy and economic activity on the basis of mutual understanding was signed during President Vikram Singhe's official visit to India. In addition, Sri Lanka and India have agreed to cooperate for construction of a multi-product petroleum pipeline from southern part of India to Sri Lanka and mutually agreed to undertake a joint exploration and production of hydrocarbons in Sri Lanka's offshore basins. Furthermore, both sides agreed to establish land connectivity between Sri Lanka and India for developing land access to the ports of Trincomalee and Colombo, and a feasibility study for such connectivity will be conducted at an early date. The Frontline Socialist Party responded to the statements made by the Minister of Foreign Affairs regarding the development of Trincomalee.
Ali Sabri, who is put in the position of singing praises, is saying that we were anyway preparing to do something like this. We were going to give this to Singapore first. And when we met the Indian Prime Minister, he said yes. What is happening now is that India is forcefully getting them to enter into the contract. Then Ali Sabri will say that India didn't force us, and we ourselves went to India on our own free will. It is clear that what is happening here is not something like that. They are trying to manipulate the economical and political power gained by the $3.9 billion and use it for these projects.
Speaking at a press briefing on Friday, the Foreign Secretary of India elaborated on the development of Trincomalee as a national and regional centre of industrial, energy and economic activity based on mutual understanding.
Look, the MOU which has been exchanged today is a framework agreement that would now allow both sides to structure a specific infrastructure, investment related, project specific partnerships in the identified zone in Trincomalee. Once that is done, then the dollar quantum proportionately will get allotted to depending upon which projects are agreed to.
So Sri Lanka is cash strapped. So what is the funding process of these projects going to be, especially the pipeline project and the development of ports?
Look, as a matter of principle, it is always our effort to ensure that our assistance projects, our development partnership project do not add any debt burden on to an existing economy. Naturally, any project which has element of credit in it would have to be positioned correctly in terms of what the debt structuring terms and conditions are for Sri Lanka. Of course, that is making an assumption that these projects will be based on the credit. There could be several projects that are non-credit oriented. They are very much developmental in nature, probably have a substantial grant component to them, but may also have an additional credit component to it. We should also not overlook the fact that some of these projects can also be through the private sector, which has a totally different modality when it interfaces with the government.
Indian Foreign Secretary also spoke about the relationship between the two countries in terms of India's security and concerns.
You would have heard Prime Minister say in his press remarks also that the aspects relating to India's security and sensitivity, Sri Lankan side did convey to us their sensitivity and respect for our security and strategic sensitive concerns relating to what happens in our maritime domain. Our challenges that we face in maritime domain are in many ways shared challenges, and both sides will continue to monitor developments, naturally closely consult on issues that have a bearing on the security of both countries, and particularly India's security and concerns of India's security and sensitivity.
Implementation of the 13th Amendment was also talked about at the press briefing.
Prime Minister also clearly said that expressed our belief that a meaningful devolution of powers and the full implementation of the 13th Amendment are essential components of addressing and facilitating the reconciliation process in Sri Lanka. This has been our consistent position, and this was put forward during the meeting between the two leaders.
Meanwhile, a public discourse has arisen regarding the decision of the Board of Directors of Sri Lanka Telecom to remove Rohan Fernando from his position as the chairman and appoint Riaz Mihular to the post. Parliamentarian Gamini Valebodu stressed that the heads of the banks will also be removed, as the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom was removed from the position of chairman. He made these remarks at a media briefing on Saturday.
The former chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom, Rohan Fernando, was removed from his position forcefully by the Malaysian representatives of the Board of Directors, and a new chairman was appointed. Who is this chairman? He is advising the government on restructuring Sri Lanka Telecom. He is the person who is recommending the government to privatize Telecom. He is a chairman representing Malaysia. This company is capable of obtaining all secret intelligent information of the government in an instant. This won't stop from Telecom. The chairman of the People's Bank, Bank of Ceylon, National Savings Bank will be removed in the foreseeable future. The directors will also be removed. They are doing it to Telecom, to the harbour, to transportation and to airlines too. They will do this to the banks as well. What will be left in the end? Meanwhile, a new circular has been issued by the Ministry of Health to all health officials regarding the providing of information to the media without prior consent of department heads. Now, the circular signed by the Secretary to the Health Ministry, Janakashri Chandragupta, says that disciplinary action will be taken against any official that provides information to the media without the consent of the department head.
The Health Ministry Secretary has issued this circular in accordance to the existing Public Administration Circular regarding issuing statements to the media. It was issued for all officers, including Provincial Health Secretaries, heads of institutions of the Ministry of Health, Provincial Directors of Health Services and Regional Service Directors. Attention has been drawn to the judgment issued under Supreme Court case number SC/FR/371/2022, and that state officials do not have the legal right to release information to the state media without the prior permission of the department head.
How did Sri Lanka's health sector collapse? The death of 2 women, including a pregnant mother at the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital after being administered an anesthetic drug, as well as the death of a 21-year-old girl while being treated for a stomach ailment, led to controversy in recent days. Another death suspected to have been caused after an antibiotic was administered was reported from the Kegal Hospital. Tests confirmed that the bupivacaine anesthetic in question, which was imported citing that it complied with the US standards, lacked an ingredient to be classified as an anesthetic. More than 20 patients who underwent surgery at the Nuwara and National Eye Hospitals developed various complications due to the prednisolone eye drops brought from India, and some patients said that the surgery left them completely visually impaired. A 21-year-old woman died after being injected with an antibiotic at the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital, and although the inquiry team appointed to investigate the death stated to the media that there was no problem with the drug, 3 batches of the drug in question were withdrawn from use a few hours later. 2 patients at the Kandy General Hospital developed allergies after being administered with the same drug. These are just a few incidents that have been reported and confirmed by the authorities. A large number of drugs, including the bupivacaine anesthetic, were imported to Sri Lanka in recent days without proper registration from the National Drug Regulatory Authority. This anesthetic was imported to Sri Lanka via Section 109 of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority Act without NMRA registration. The NMRA conducted tests on the propofol anesthetic. Reports revealed that the anesthetic contained endotoxins and bacterial toxins. Propofol was also imported to Sri Lanka without NMRA registration. Against the backdrop where representatives of multiple health sector trade unions demand a formal investigation into these incidents, there have been issued nothing but a circular saying that details of the investigation cannot be released to the media without the consent of authorities. Issues of the health sector cannot be solved by silencing officials and the media. Can these issues in the health sector, along with other issues in the country, be solved by giving priority to narrow political agendas and interests of other countries instead of prioritizing the welfare of the people? In modern democracies, such issues have never been solved by censoring. We report, you decide.
Speaking at a press briefing, a group of representatives from the trade unions and civil organizations condemned the circular issued by the Secretary to the Health Ministry.
The current situation of the country was first revealed by the trade unions in the health sector. What happened after the trade union leaders spoke about that? They are suppressing the expression of ideas. When someone points out something wrong, they are trying to cut that person off. This government is not providing solutions to the problems of the people. Since there is no solution, their solution to every problem is suppression. We are clearly saying that we won't let that suppression take place. If the government is attempting to suppress the trade unions of the health sector, we would like to remind the government that all the trade unions of the country will stand up against it.
සමිති ඒකාබද්ධව පෙළ ගෑනවායි කියලා අපි යාන්ත්‍ර කියන්න කැමති. අපි අභියෝග කරනවා. මේක මාධ්‍යයට නොගිය අපිට ඇවිල්ලා කියන්න පුළුවන් තැන මොකක්ද? මේ කියන කාරණා.
If what we are saying is wrong, we will surrender. If the health secretary thinks that this can be covered up easily, it is clear that it is not possible. As trade unions, we strictly condemn the circular by the health secretary. We are continuously saying that we can't accept these. They have already started the hunt. We are not just saying these. We would like to remind the minister that we are studying the medicines used in this country.
අපි දැන් අධ්‍යයනය කරනවා මේ රටේ ඖෂධ සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
මේ දවස්වල සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයට අර
We know that the health ministry is struggling these days. It won't be easy for the ministry. The ministry says that it is wrong to talk about preemptive measures to prevent the medicine shortage in the country. The ministry is implying that it is okay to let the people die because of the administration of low quality drugs, but it is wrong to point out the defects in it and the measures that can be taken to prevent such consequences. We are kindly requesting the secretary to cancel this circular. We would also like to mention that the minister, the secretary and the director general will be held responsible for all the consequences that occur after next week if it is not removed.
ඍජුව වගකීම් යුතු බව මේ රටේ පුරවැසි අධිකරණයේදී තීරණය කරන බව අපි සඳහන් කරන්න කැමතියි.
On to other news now. With the arrival of the dry season, many problems have arisen in several areas in releasing water for paddy cultivation in the Yala season. Now, due to this, farmers say that there is a risk of fields of about 60,000 acres of paddy belonging to the Ambilipitia Valava farming movement facing a drought.
The Water Committee of the Valava movement belonging to the Ambilipitia Mahavali Authority convened a meeting to discuss the release of water. The meeting was headed by the Deputy Resident Business Manager of the Ambilipitia Mahavali Authority, Tilak Ranasinghe.
අපි ගන්න පුළුවන් ඔක්කොම තීරණ අපි අරන් තියෙනවා. දැන් මට කියන සමානයි වරුණ කෙනෙක් වල වතුර ගන්න කියලා එහෙම කියන්න පුළුවන් හැකියාවක් අපිට නැහැ. අපි සාමාන්‍ය නිලධාරීන්නේ.
The farmers who gathered at the meeting room questioned the managers regarding this.
උඩවල ව්‍යාපාරේ මිනිස්සුන්ට විදුලිය නෙමෙයි ඕන ආහාරයි ඕන අපට ඒ දේ ඕන සර්.
After we explained that to the cabinet, what else can we do? They should take a decision there. To whom I can tell these apart from them.
A cabinet paper has been passed. They have informed Kanchana. Other than that, Amaravira has been informed. Everyone has been informed about this. They are not providing answers to this. The problem can only be solved through a people's mandate.
News first with the people.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadas emphasizes that there is a necessity to work as one nation and reap the benefits of having a unique fishing zone around the country.
The opposition leader visited the Dodandua fishing port to investigate the issues that is faced by the fishing community. Upon his visit, fishermen informed him of the challenges they face on a daily basis.
Although our country is surrounded by the sea and our country has the right to an exclusive economic zone 200 nautical miles from the coast, if according to the international maritime law, our country can only get a 1.4% contribution from the fishing industry. It is a very pathetic situation. In truth, the government does not care about the fishing community. The most serious situation is that the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources has decided that the damage caused by the Express Pearl ship was limited from Negombo to Panadura. However, even recently, pellets belonging to the ships were discovered on the shore. Therefore, the first thing to do is fix those in the Ministry of Fisheries.
The Attorney General's department says that the government's negotiations with the legal representatives of the Express Pearl Shipping Company and their insurers will have no effect on the legal proceedings that have already been initiated in Singapore. The Attorney General said that the marine insurance company has given positive responses regarding the compensation. During the negotiations, the legal representatives of the shipping company and their insurers have assured the government that the remaining compensation due to the Maritime Environment Protection Authority and the Ministry of Fisheries will be promptly assessed. The Attorney General also said that the Indian Coast Guard has also demanded compensation from the insurance company for cleaning up its coastline.
Now, the Ministry of Investment Promotion says that Sri Lanka's Board of Investment has received investments worth $211 million during the first quarter of 2023.
The ministry stated that solutions to the problems of investors will be provided through the 7-member committee that has been appointed to look into the laws and regulations hindering Sri Lanka's investments. The ministry further says 70 out of 73 investment projects that were put on hold due to the economic crisis have already recommenced.
A 7-day international search and rescue training camp conducted by the Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management was held in China Bay, Trincomalee. Representatives of APAD, international trainers, members of the Sri Lanka Air Force, volunteers and private sector trainees joined this rigorous program. This program consisted of indoor briefings, practical activities and night rescue activities.
Yeah, the training has been totally new and been teaching us a lot of things. So it's, I think, very good for Sri Lanka for us to get people like this from abroad to come and give us their knowledge.
It's very difficult because you have to have the very strong mental, and sometimes you have to take care of your victim, your patient also. So don't make you become the victim too. So that's our training.
Through this training, we hope that civilians and the military personnel who receive this training will be able to help people during floods, which Sri Lanka experiences quite often.
The members of the Sri Lanka Life Saving Association shared their experiences while assisting the lectures and practical activities. Certificates were given to those who completed the training by the Sri Lanka Air Force Dean of the Faculty of Applied Sciences, China Bay Trincomalee, Air Commodore Deshapriya Silva. Country Director of APAD Firzan Hashim, Chief Trainer Huang Chang Yuan, Group Captain Dr. Sampath Hevawasam and Wing Commander Niroshan Senadira also attended the event. In other news now, the suspect for the murder of the mother and the girl in Anguruwatota, Horana has been arrested. The suspect was arrested at his residence in Varkagoda on Saturday morning. The police said that the suspect attempted to attack the police officers with a sharp weapon. The police said that the suspect stabbed himself with the weapon while the police were trying to stop the attack. He is currently receiving treatment at the Horana District General Hospital under police custody. The 24-year-old woman and her 11-month-old infant were reported missing since the 18th of July. The police started investigations and search operations following a complaint lodged by the deceased woman's husband, as the woman had not been there at their residence when he returned from work. The bodies of the woman and infant were found in a pit about a kilometer away from the house in a forest in Anguruwatota, Urtudava on Friday morning.
Be the first to know about the biggest stories as they break. Subscribe to News First English News Alerts. News First, your trusted English news channel.
News First. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Welcome back to the news. A very special ceremony began today for Catholics in the northwestern province, in which a statue of Our Lady from the Church of Velakkane in South India has been taken in procession to the newly expanded church at Uchimune Island off the northern tip of Kalpitia.
A special statue of Our Lady that was brought to Sri Lanka from Velakkane Church in South India is to be vested in the expanded Church of Our Lady of Velakkane built on Uchimunai Island off Kalpitia. Has been taken in procession to Kalpitia. The procession began this morning from Vaikal, and huge crowds lined the road of the areas of Vennappua, Katuneria, Maravila, Mahabeva, Bandarawata, Chilau, Kottapitiya, Rajakaduluwa and Karikatiya Palavia to catch a glimpse and pay their respects to the statue. The special statue was placed at the St. Mary's Church, Kalpitia this evening, and the event came to a conclusion following a special mass. The church grew from a small chapel on Uchimunai Island several decades ago, and it was recently decided that it would be expanded into a larger church. The new church will be ceremonially opened on the 23rd of July. The island is home to 180 Catholic families.
The 71st anniversary of the National Day of the Arab Republic of Egypt was held in Colombo on Friday.
Ceremony to commemorate the 71st anniversary of the National Day of the Arab Republic of Egypt was held on Friday in Colombo. The National Day of Egypt is celebrated on the 23rd of July, which coincides with the annual celebration of the Egyptian Revolution of 1952, when the modern Republic of Egypt was declared, ending the period of the Kingdom of Egypt. Many diplomats, state officials and several politicians attended the event.
I stand here today to celebrate 60 years of uninterrupted friendship between Egypt and Sri Lanka, and maybe decades, if not centuries before, and hopefully many decades to come. At all times, Egypt was close to the Sri Lankan people, and at all times, Egypt was close to the Sri Lankan government, to the Sri Lankan religious leader, business community, working at all levels for the people's prosperity and for the security of both countries. On the 19th of July, Egypt and Sri Lanka had their second round of political consultations, where bilateral relations in all fields were assessed and the roadmap was about to be finalized.
To mark the National Day of the Arab Republic of Egypt, a ceremonial cake was cut. The second session of bilateral consultations between the foreign ministries of Sri Lanka and Egypt concluded in Colombo on the 19th of July. The consultations were co-chaired by State Minister of Foreign Affairs Tharaka Balasuriya and Assistant Minister of Asian Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, Ayman Kamel. The consultations focused on a range of areas of bilateral cooperation, including economic and trade cooperation, the current economic recovery process, investment and tourism promotion, people-to-people exchanges, and multilateral cooperation. The two sides agreed to enter into an agreement in new areas of cooperation and to revisit the existing agreements with a view to consolidating collaborations in the respective areas.
On to news overseas now, making headlines throughout the week. Greece is bracing for more intense heat this weekend, with meteorologists warning that temperatures could climb as high as 45 degrees Celsius.
People have been advised to stay at home, and tourist sites, including Athens' ancient Acropolis, will be shut down during the hottest parts of the next 2 days. According to meteorologists, it could turn into Greece's hottest July weekend in 50 years. Meanwhile, firefighters are continuing to battle dozens of wildfires. Emergencies and civil protection officials are warning of a very high risk of new blazes across the country. Western Attica, just west of Athens, is among the worst hit areas, along with Laconia in the southern Peloponnese and the island of Rhodes. Greece's EU partners have provided help, including firefighting planes from France and Italy, and more than 200 firefighters from Poland, Slovakia, Romania and Bulgaria. Neighboring Turkey is also sending some aircraft to help. Greece, like a number of other European countries, saw a prolonged spell of extreme heat earlier this month.
In sports news now, the second round of the Jaffna Premier League football tournament will commence tomorrow. Shakti TV is the proud media sponsor for the sports event.
Jaffna Premier League football tournament is held with the aim of selecting the best players for the national football squad. 8 teams took part in the first round. The tournament was held in Jaffna Areale ground. 22 teams that performed on Thursday and Friday has been selected for the second round. 4 more teams were selected for the second round today. Accordingly, 26 teams will take part in the second round, which is to be held tomorrow. Sunday's match will be played at the Jaffna Pashiur and Jaffna Areale grounds. The tournament is organised by the Northern Province Sports Department.
In other sports news now, Trinity College Kandy won the first leg of the 77th Bradby Shield annual rugby encounter against Royal College, Colombo.
The historic Bradby Shield annual rugby encounter is conducted in 2 legs this year. A team from Royal College travelled to Kandy this morning in the Bradby Special Express train. This is the 10th time a team from Royal College Colombo travelled to Kandy in the Bradby Special Express train to compete in the encounter. The principal and teachers of Royal College, parents and students join in support of this occasion. The first leg of the Bradby Shield annual rugby encounter was held at the Pallekale Rugby Stadium on Saturday. The Royalists were ahead at the start of the match. They started scoring in the 11th minute. Royalists, who succeeded in 2 tries, took the lead in the first half with 10-0 points. In the second half, the Trinity players playing well scored 13 points. That was with a try, a conversion and 2 penalties. The Royalists could not score in the second half. Accordingly, the first leg of the Bradby Shield held today ended with Trinity College winning 13-10 points. The second leg of this encounter will be held on the 5th in Colombo. The team with the most points at the end of both legs will be awarded the prestigious Bradby Shield. The shield is currently held by Royal College Colombo, who won the Bradby Shield last year.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News this evening. Stay tuned to our social media pages to stay updated with the latest of news. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Saptin signing off. Have a beautiful night.